And from that day forward, you always carried your pistol.
Always.
No matter where you went,
Where
who
I
you
went.
were with. So in some ways, you weren't listening to Reverend Rogers or Reverend Linton. They're telling you, don't be carrying nothing.
Listen, I said then when I like to got killed that night, I could have got killed if I went on to the Carter. I would have got killed. And I said then, well, I'd rather for the police to catch me with it than the kid to catch me without it. And that was my saying, and I stood to it.
Every time you marched, every time you went to a meeting, you thought you might get killed. What kept you going?
Because I had made up my mind that what we were doing was right, and if it cost me my life, I was just a dead man. I said, cause I'm dead anyhow, why I should live? Can't do nothing you want to do. And so I just made up my mind, life or death, let it happen.
From the time of the Montgomery bus boycott, which marked the beginning of the new civil rights movement, the leaders of the movement were threatened by Klan violence. Inspired by Martin Luther King Jr. and the tactics Dr. King had learned from Gandhi, the movement was dedicated to nonviolence. The minister leaders of the movement asked, despite these threats of violence, that there be no guns involved, no violence of any kind. When the leaders continued to be harassed and murdered, despite the movement's dedication to nonviolence, African American men began to organize into groups they called the Deacons for Defense, designed to protect the ministers and leaders of the movement. They would follow them at a distance to make sure they reached their destination safely. They would sometimes surround their houses at night, serving as bodyguards. Even though the ministers, in their effort to follow the doctrine of nonviolence, asked that they not do this, they did it anyway. One of these men was Mr. Jerry Martin of Tuscaloosa, Alabama. On September 20th, 2020, Dr. John Giggy, professor of history at the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, interviewed Mr. Martin at the Martin home in Tuscaloosa. Also present was Mr. Martin's wife, Mrs. Daisy Lou Martin, their daughter, Mrs. Marilyn Edwards, and her husband, Mr. Kenneth Edwards.
When is your wedding anniversary?
October the 20th.
1952.
Right.
So that was 1 year after you moved to Tuscaloosa.
He said that was 1 year after you moved to Tuscaloosa?
Yeah, about a year. Okay. Maybe a little over a year.
Okay. And did y'all know each other before you moved to Tuscaloosa?
No.
Okay. Is there a story there? Did you meet her somewhere at a dance, at the store? Were you walking, running? What was it? How'd that happen?
Okay. I was working downtown at Richardson Brothers, driving a truck, and I was catching the bus every evening when I get off work. And I met my wife on the bus. She was going to Industrial High School, and we sat together on the bus, and I started questioning her, and we went from there.
So when you met her on the bus, you were still in high school, ma'am. Is that right? Were you a junior or a senior? Was your last year?
I'm a last
Oh,
year.
Okay.
that was her last. No, that was her junior year.
Yeah, junior year.
But I finished high school.
You were already done. Okay. And it was back then. It was industrial high school, right? Is that what it was called?
Right.
Yeah.
And
And when you sat with her on the bus, back then that bus would have been segregated, right?
Correct.
So when you sat with her on the bus, you had to sit with her in the back of the bus.
That's correct.
Okay. And did this happen for a long time? Every day you took the bus, you would sit together, or
No, just every once in a while, cause it wasn't no certain time I got off work.
Mm-hmm.
If I got back in time, I catch the bus, and if I didn't, I catch another bus.
Okay. So, you said you moved here from Livingston in 1951, right?
Right.
Why did you move here?
Looking for work. I just had got out of high school. I was trying to find a job.
Okay. And you went to what high school in Livingston?
Now I went to something, at that time it was something kind of training school.
Right. I know you've been married for an incredible 68 years. You were married just behind here, it sounds like, in your mom's house, right? Let me start with that year in 1951-52, taking the bus and meeting your wife. What was it like working in Tuscaloosa at that time? What do you remember about that?
It was Tuscaloosa was as segregated as any place I've ever been when I came here.
So what did that mean to take a bus back then? Where you obviously sat at a different part of the bus. What did the bus station look like? What was it that was segregated as well? We waited for the bus.
Yeah, we stood on the corner and waited on the bus. Wasn't no station.
Mm-hmm. So back then, this is almost 70 years ago, where would you go shopping? Where would you go for things you needed?
Well, we went downtown in Tuscaloosa. That was where we went mostly every weekend to buy whatever it needed. And
So when you went downtown, it was segregated, you said.
right.
So when you went to a store like Woolworths or Crest, what was it like when you went in there? How were you treated? What do you remember about that?
The best I can say it, you were just treated like black folk were treated that time. If you were humble enough, then they probably would let you buy it. But if if you had a little attitude or anything, then it wouldn't be long before you'd be in jail.
So when you say you had a little attitude, if someone thought you had attitude, what did that mean? What would a person look at you and say how you acted, like you had attitude back
Well,
then?
you can look at a person, if they don't say nothing, you can look at them and tell whether they got an attitude or not. At least I can.
Mm-hmm. You said these people, that white folks said they had attitude, would go to jail. What would they go to jail for? What was the charge they would have been arrested for? What would they have been accused of?
Well, you could be charged with anything back then. You could be charged with reckless looking or anything if you were black.
Part of what we want to do today is really document your history as a person who made Tuscaloosa better.
Okay.
But what I need to figure out, as you remember it, Tuscaloosa is a very different place it was today than it was back 70 years ago.
Yeah, it's better now.
If you were talking to a grandchild, someone in school, and they wanted to know what was it like growing up in this place, what was it like to be 18, 19, 20 in Tuscaloosa, what would you tell them?
You was taught from home and everywhere that if you want to make it in life, then you had to stay in your place, whatever that was.
So when you heard that, when that was taught to you,
I taught me from a child.
What did that mean to you when you heard that phrase? If you want to make it in life, you need to stay in your place.
Yeah, that means don't give no trouble to nobody white. That's what it meant to me.
And what did they teach you if you were to give trouble to a white person? What was going to happen to you?
Well, if you got in trouble, you just
Go to jail.
you just doomed. That's all I know.
As a little boy or a little girl growing up, what do you remember about growing up in Tuscaloosa? Or Livingston, I'm sorry, in Livingston.
I remember that my daddy was, and he told us that at first he was a sharecropper, and every year he was told that he didn't quite come out. So he said they go back and tell him, and he had to borrow, get some money and get some clothes would get clothes out of the store there in the town. But he had to get clothes and shoes, things like that there. And sometimes he had to buy some kind of groceries. But we always had a plenty food. Because we had on the farm and we raised everything. We had chicken, hogs, cows, and everything like that. So most any time we needed some meat or something like that there, we just kill a cow, kill a hog or something. Because there was always a lot of us at home. It was about 12 or 15 of us at home all the time, dad and mom and all. And so the only thing we usually had to buy was, sugar and rice or something like that. Because we had our own meal. My granddad had a grist mill, and he used to grind up meal corn for everybody around in the neighborhood. But my granddad, he had his own place, and he had most of the things that black folk didn't have. So we could always get most anything we needed.
What was it like as a young married couple living in Tuscaloosa?
Well, if you had a job, it was all right. 'Cause I remember when I got married, I didn't have no money or nothing, but I had a job, and I could go to a store where he sold furniture and stuff, and get anything I had, 'cause I had a good credit. And that's how I did. I got a house full of furniture when I first got married, and paid for it about a month.
So when you got married, you were driving a truck. That was your job?
Right.
What was the name of the company?
Richardson Brothers.
What was that? Was that a furniture store, or was it a meat packer? What
No, we hauled groceries to haul groceries to stores, wholesale groceries.
So you must have traveled all around the state then, right? To different stores?
Well, we did a lot of different things in Tuscaloosa and out of Tuscaloosa.
Did you drive did this truck go to both black and white stores, or mostly black?
Say again.
When you were driving the truck, did you serve both black and white stores?
I can't remember any black store I carried groceries to. It always was a white store.
How were you treated as a bus driver and someone who was bringing these groceries to these wholesalers?
Well, all I had to do was carry it there, put it out, and they check it, and I sign it off.
Okay. Let me push ahead a little bit, getting to where Tuscaloosa began to change, right? In other words, by 1964, Tuscaloosa was beginning to really explode, right? But prior to that, there were lots of efforts to break the color line, to desegregate, to demand rights. When did you first get involved in that kind of activity?
Okay. Now, I might not put it in the sequence, but I tell you what all that happened. I have been told that if you wasn't allowed to use folks' name, you might not could use it, but if I can't use no name, I don't know how I could do it. But First African Baptist Church had a pastor there named Reverend Sheila. And he, before Reverend Rogers came here, he organized a movement for us, but it didn't last long. It lasted for I said 2 or 3 weeks ago, and so when we knew anything, he was gone, and we was told. Now, I don't know how true this is, but we were told that he got threatened, and he quit the church and left here. All right, and a few months later, Reverend Dr. T.Y. Rogers was ordered to touch First African for pastor, a young man I knew all his life, because he came down to Tuscaloosa too. And so he came here and organized us into a movement. I don't think that Reverend Sheila was here long enough to even name the movement. But anyway, he left. Reverend T.Y. Rogers came here, and Dr. Kane came here and installed him at First African, and he called a meeting with the community. We met and got organized and named it TCAC, Tuscaloosa Citizens for Action Committee. And so the first thing that I can remember we did was get started with the bus, Tuscaloosa bus, the bus company, to desegregate it, and Stoves, who would not allow blacks to work in them, and we selective buying is what we call it, and we would only buy from stores that either black folks working in or they was permitted to work in, and so let's see now, and we had 2 places downtown on the west side, slum housing. We added that to it, and then we were integrating lunch counters and all that kind of stuff. So we was I believe Dick Greco came here to work with us some, and so we was most of our marching in Tuscaloosa back then was at night, cause most of us were working during the day, and Reverend Rogers had us march many times at night. So we decided, well, not we, he decided, the committee decided that we would go to the Garner Charcoal Steakhouse and eat supper. But Robert Shelton's headquarters was upstairs, and so he wasn't going to be responsible for it. So Reverend Rogers asked for 10 men to go downtown that night. It was that night to go downtown that night and go to Garner Charcoal Steakhouse and eat. And 10 of us signed up to go, or stood up to go. And cause he said he didn't want to carry no women. And Dick Gregory was here with us. I'll never forget that. Dick Gregory said, Reverend Rogers said, I didn't come here to run your movement, but I want to tell you something. I never forget that. He said, if 10 of us go down there tonight, there could be 10 funerals in Tuscaloosa next week. He said, but if 100 of us go down there, the insurance company ain't gonna let them kill all of us. So we got I reckon it was near I don't know how many it was, but a bunch of us went down there. We met women and men. And we sit in there and ate, and Dick Gregory paid the bill, and nothing happened. to us, and we never seen nobody even down threatening us. And so we come on back from there, and then that opened the door in for us to do other things. The next thing I remember that I selected to work in was voter education. Because at that time, they had application, or I guess you had to fill out a form with a lot of questions on it to be able to register to vote. And I, along with a lot of more, well, not a lot of more, but some more of us, decided that we'd work with that. And at that time, Stoker Carmichael was working with Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC we call it. And he was working with SCLC. And we started that during the time when Cheney and Goodman and them were killed. Mm-hmm. Well, we were having a class of teaching folk how to register to vote at different churches in Tuscaloosa. And we got hundreds of folk registered to vote, but and a lot of them couldn't read. We had to program them so they'll know whether yes or no, what question was yes or no. And we done good with that for a while, but when the board, the register vote found out that we were doing that, then they decided to change the application every month. Every month they change the question on the application. So we got some students from the University of Alabama. When I said we, I'm talking about the movement. And they would always get us one for a month ahead of time. And it didn't lighten us up a bit because we already had the application and the question there ahead of time, and we always kept it going. And I worked with that for a number of years. And so when then I back up after this. But when the march was Bloody Sunday march was, well, we was intending to go down there after church, but when it got to Selma, got to Selma and Brent, the state trooper, if you didn't live down near Selma, you couldn't go. They turned you around. So we couldn't go that Sunday. And so Dr. King and them got with the president and worked it out in about 2 or 3 weeks. I've forgotten how much it was. But the next march, we had federal troops to guard us, and we marched from Selma to Montgomery. And I got a certificate to prove that I did march from Selma to Montgomery. And I also got in the voter education center in Selma. My footprint is there, and a lot that I said, they wrote it down. I guess they got it there too. Mm-hmm. And now let me back up. When Reverend Rogers first came here after Reverend Sheila got run away. It was 3 preachers in town that they were working with the movement that was threatened, and that was Reverend T.Y. Rogers, Reverend Hushfield, and Reverend T. Jumpin Leonard. And Reverend T.Y. Rogers, president, and Reverend Hushfield was vice president, and Reverend Leonard worked with other areas, Noam Vine. That's what he worked with, Noam Vine. And it's been so long, I'm trying to think. Sam Gray and Mr. Boogstrain, they organized a posse to guard them 3 houses every night in the week. So I volunteered for that. And we volunteered and to make sure that the 3 men and their family would not get killed like they did in other places. So that worked out good. We had several things that we knew. You couldn't avoid coming down that street at night unless they had the password. And so we come out pretty good with that. And
Let me stop you there because there's so much you just said that's so important that no one really has this before, talked about this before about Tuscaloosa. Let me start from the last thing you said, maybe go back a little bit. So part of what you did that was so valuable is that you literally protected Reverend Rogers, you protected Reverend Hirschfield, and you protected Reverend Linton. Who organized that? Was that Joe Malisham? You mentioned the name Sam Gray, but how did that get organized? That all of a sudden people started to protect people.
Well, different folk did different things, and Joe worked with us in everything, tell the truth, that he could work in. But I remember Mr. Gray and Bucktran organizing us in different areas, different places to guard them houses. And Joe might have been in that, I don't know.
So the 2 men that you remember most, it was Sam, what was his last name?
Sam Gray.
Sam Gray. Who was the other gentleman?
And Mr. Bucktran.
Okay.
Now that's who organized us to guard those houses, which they every night around them houses for a long time. I don't remember how long, but till it wasn't no threat.
What was it that made Mr. Gray or Mr. Bertram or even Mr. Malisham, what was it that led them to say, we need to protect these people? Was there a certain threat? Was there a specific incident? Did something happen that you or they said enough is enough, we have to protect these people?
No. See, Reverend Sheila had already got run away from here. And we got the word that it's just a matter of time that they were going to run Reverend Rogers and Reverend Hushfield and Reverend Linton. Mm-hmm. They going to run them with me because Reverend Linton was every Monday night he'll speak on Noam Vine, or selected Vine, and Reverend Hushfield was the vice president to Reverend Rogers, and then they were really threatening Reverend Rogers. I guess they threatened all 3 of them, but I know it was told to us, I'll say it that way, that they were planning on killing him and his family or running him out of town. And Reverend Rogers said, the only way I'll go out of town I'd be in a box. And he stood up to what he said.
So when you say they were saying that these people were saying they were planning on killing Reverend Rogers or his family or forcing him to leave town, who is saying that? Who is pushing for that?
Well, I don't know. That's the reason I don't want to say it. But I know that it was told to us that the KKK had done said that they were gonna do that. But now I didn't hear none of them because I didn't know none of them nowhere.
But you understood or were told that the people that were saying these things, these were Klansmen. This is Robert Shelton, or this was someone like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I tell you, an incident happened to me. We had mass meeting at Fort African every Monday night. And I used to carry a carload with me almost every Monday night before I wanted to go. And Fort African was a standing room only every Monday night. But this Monday night, I didn't nobody go with me, and I went by myself. And that was the one thing that we used to tell Reverend Rogers all the time: do not go nowhere by yourself. And I wound up that night with nobody with me. And I went out 10th Street, out toward Druid City Hospital. And every time I stopped for a light, traffic light, somebody run into the back of my car. I ain't talking about just touch it. They hit it. And so I went on out till I got out where the light was, where you could see. And I got out of my car. I was so mad then. They had already told us, don't never carry a knife or gun or nothing with you. And we were trying to obey that. And I got out of my car. I was so mad I got out of my car. And I started back to the car, but it was full of folk. And I turned around. When mine told me turn around, well, I know what mine was. Told me turn around, go back and get in your car and get gone. I got in my car, and I come on out to Druid City, and I cut through Druid City parking lot, and I lost them. They didn't know where I went, and I come on home. Can I tell you this? And I come on home, and I said to myself, told my wife, I said, now they said we can't carry a knife or gun or nothing. I said, but I'll never be caught out again without my gun. I'm gonna have me a pistol on me somewhere. And I put a pistol on me, and for all the years till we quit marching, I carried my pistol everywhere with me. But I show you how good God is. And that was during the time when they were hijacking plane to go to Cuba. And I had to go to Atlanta to a meeting, and I got on the plane and got all the way to the airport in Atlanta. That did nothing. I went through that. Did nothing pick me up. No, none of them things. I went through all of, and I got to Atlanta and went to the bathroom, and the first thing I felt was my pistol in my pocket. I said, "Oh Lord." I said, if I had got caught with that on that was 10 years in the federal penitentiary without a bond. And so I said, now how I'm gonna get my pistol back home? So I took it to pieces, piece by piece, and put it in my suitcase in different places, so it wouldn't be even shown to be dangerous to anybody. I got it back home. And
So after that incident where you were chased by, it sounds like a group of white people were chasing you, were they white kids or men who kept bumping into your car?
It was a man who was driving the car, because he the one got out. But I don't know who all was in the car with him. I couldn't tell, but I know it was a bunch of guys in the car with him, because I could see him when I got close enough to see the car, inside the car.
And from that day forward, you always carried your pistol.
Always.
No matter where you went,
where
who you were with. So in some ways, you weren't listening to Reverend Rogers or Reverend Linton. They're telling you, don't be carrying nothing.
Listen, I said then, when I later got killed that night, I could have got killed. If I went on to the car, I would have got killed. And I said then, well, I'd rather for the police to catch me with it than the KKK to catch me without it. And that was my saying, and I stood to it.
Say that one more time. You would rather the police catch. Say it one more time.
Huh?
Say that one more time.
I said that I would rather for the police to catch me with a gun than the Ku Klux to catch me without it. Wasn't long after that for Reverend Rogers. He always stayed in and out of town. And he come to Birmingham, and I rent him a car from the rental, and come on home by himself. We told him stop doing that. So one night he ran a car, and the state trooper stopped him. T.Y., where in the world is it? And that's not part of the wood. He said, where in the world are you going with driving so fast? And so when he come back and told us that, we told him that we'll come get him every night. Every time he come back home, we'll come get him. Some of us come back there and get him. All right. So
Let me go back to this point in time when you started to carry your pistol everywhere. Were there other men like you that did that? Or were you the only one who did that?
I don't know. I didn't make it a secret, a question that anybody knew it. I don't know nobody knew I had my pistol.
When you were guarding Reverend Rogers' house, or Reverend Linton's house, or Reverend Hirschfield's house, were there other men that were with you that you know were armed?
Oh, all of us were armed then. At the house, we had shotgun. We were armed at the house, so if anybody come in the
But
back
Maggie
there,
was with you, wasn't
yeah.
That's her brother.
Who was that man?
No,
Her brother was
her brother went with me one time to help guard one of them house. But,
And so you were armed with shotguns and pistols when you were guarding those homes?
huh?
So you all had shotguns and pistols when you're guarding Reverend Rogers' home?
I don't know about no pistol, but everybody had a shotgun. Everybody who was out there guarding had a shotgun.
So I'm curious about the details. Like, if you're guarding Reverend Rogers' house, how many men were around it? How many men were near it? How did you make sure that no one could get on the property and shoot at him?
Well, we were schooled on that by the guys who told us that lay low and don't make no move unless you sure that the wrong person coming in. And so we never shoot at nobody. Not that I know. Not where I was.
So the car's coming down the street to Reverend Rogers' house. How would you know if that was a car you could trust, or was maybe someone you couldn't trust? Was there a code? Was there something that they had to do for you?
Well, what we did, we had a signal that if you didn't know the signal, if it come down through there, and if you didn't blink your lights 3 times, that you were gonna be stopped at the other end. And but if you blink your light, somebody that knew us and knew what we were doing.
So if a car did come and didn't know the signal, didn't blink their lights 3 times, you would stop them. And then what would happen?
Well, I don't. If the word got out, I don't remember nobody coming down there and going and trying to go through there.
So it
So
worked.
I think everybody would. Well, I don't know about, but I said, not no night I was there, and I was there about every night. Didn't know everybody would come down through there whilst I was there. They always blinked their light. We know they was all right.
You and these other men that would guard these houses, did you have meetings beforehand? Did you ever get together and sort of have a plan on how to work? Like, what if the Klan did come down that street? How would you act? What would you do?
It was somebody at the other end who was gonna stop the car. That's all I know. I wasn't on the other end.
So where were you in this? I mean, someone else down the end stopping the cars. Where were you positioned usually?
My position was laying low around the back of the house. Some folks were on the side, and some of them was on front. But I always stayed on the back, and I always had my automatic shotgun.
When you say lying low, were you just sitting in a chair? Were you behind the bushes? Were you hiding? What were you doing?
We just laying down low, laying down and stand still, so with nobody to detect that we were back there.
What about outside of the area for Reverend Rogers, Linton, or Hirschfield? Because the Klan is everywhere in Tuscaloosa. The Klan is threatening many, many people. Were you or the people who were guarding those homes, did you also help other people who might have been threatened by the Klan, who might have needed help?
If it did, it wasn't in the movement. If it did, we didn't know about it.
Mm-hmm.
I heard you talk about this lawyer Joe Madison. I knew her well, but I didn't know Joe was guarding her.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. I guess he kept out a secret.
Did you or any of your friends that were involved in the protection part of this, did you ever help when things got difficult at movie theaters, or when the Klan would actually rough up people at movie theaters or other places?
I don't remember anything about the movie, so I wasn't in that era.
Okay. Did you or any of your friends ever shoot your shotgun at anybody at any time?
Not that I know of. I know we did at Reverend Rogers. I was usually at his house most of my time, and they had other guys at Reverend Hirschfield and Reverend London house.
Okay. When Reverend Rogers would drive around town or go to Atlanta, right? You would often, or someone would go with him then. Is that right?
No, that's what we always told him after the state trooper stopped him that night. They called him by name and hadn't even looked at his paper. They noticed somebody, that the company, wherever he rented the car for, they had already informed him. So now Reverend Rogers, he was a stubborn as a gray mule. And I can tell you that nobody couldn't tell him what to do if he wanted to do it. What I mean by that, he'll go by himself, don't care what you say. If we hadn't come to Birmingham and got him, then he would have come on, got a car and come on. So it wasn't no fear in him. The word fear that wasn't in him. We just had to look out for him the best we could, any time we could. He was a man with no fear.
Do you remember when it was when you were chased through, when you had to go through the DCH parking lot? Was Reverend Rogers already here at that time?
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. We're having mass meet. Have been having mass meet. Yeah.
Okay.
He's here. Yeah, that was way after Reverend Rogers was here. See, I would never even carry a penknife in my pocket or in my car or nothing of the kind or nothing, because I didn't want to be stopped by the police because they could charge it with anything. Wasn't no law against charging black folk with anything. They do that. So I was obeying everything until I got killed that night.
Was there ever a moment during this whole time period where you thought you might get killed?
Oh, I thought that every time I went out, every time I went to mass meeting, I said I may not get back home. Every time I went to a march or anything, and we marched all over this country, yeah, it's good. I went with the understanding that I might not get back home. But that didn't.
So every time you marched, every time you went to a meeting, you thought you might get killed. What kept you going?
What do?
Why'd you keep doing that? Because that's powerful.
Because I had made up my mind that what we were doing was right, and if it cost me my life, I was just a dead man. I said, cause I'm dead anyhow, while I live, can't do nothing you want to do. And so I just made up my mind, life or death, let it happen. And I was like that. To tell the truth, I ain't much better than that now. Oh, I never get to tell you. We went up there and got Reverend Rogers that night, and coming back from Birmingham, there was 3 or 4 of us in the car. and a car chased us. I mean, was following us. I said that way, all the way, and we went downtown. Went downtown and give me time. From Birmingham to Bessemer. We went downtown, went down through the town of Bessemer trying to dodge them. Trying to see where they're following us, and they still following us. And that night, everybody in the car said, well, we just have to get ready because there's going to be something going on here. And that's the night that Reverend Rogers and all of them found out I had a pistol. I pulled my pistol out. I said, I got 6 of them. and I said, now, if it was 6, somebody else going to have to get them. We dodged them, I believe, somewhere in Bessemer. They just turned around and went back. That's when they said, when we were in Bessemer, and they said, well, we're going to have it tonight with somebody. And that's when I let them know I had a pistol. And everybody in the car was glad.
How did Reverend Rogers respond when all of a sudden you showed him the pistol? Was he upset with you? Or?
He never even talked to me about it and said nothing. He didn't say get rid of it or nothing. He just, he knew me from a boy. We were raised up in the
same county, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And he knew I wasn't gonna put it up. I wasn't gonna carry it back home. If he said, I'll stood up and like he would.
A couple of names you mentioned that are really important. One was Robert Shelton, who was head of the National Klan during this time period. Did you ever see him or run into him or any way?
Not that I know of.
You know what he looked like when he was walking down the street?
I said not that I know of.
Okay.
I didn't know him from nobody.
Okay. Were there any Klansmen that you knew of or you recognized?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. You were there when Dr. King installed Reverend T.Y. Rogers.
Yeah.
Right? What was that night like to hear Reverend King speak and bring?
Well, that was the afternoon. That happened in the afternoon.
Okay.
But that was exciting. Dr. King was exciting anyhow, but that was an excitement movement. When he got through that, Reverend Rogers spoke. Then we were ready. We were showing up ready then, because we were already upset because Reverend Sheila had been run out of town. We had said they told us he got run out of town. So evidently he left overnight. He must have did. And so Reverend Rogers, he cleared his sheet with us that day when Dr. King was there, that he was there to stay.
What was that day like to have Reverend King at First African in the pulpit? What was the feeling like? What do you remember from that moment?
To tell the truth, that wasn't the only time he came there. He came there several times.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember what Reverend King or what Reverend Rogers said that day? Because you said after that you were ready then, right? What was it about that moment or those two men that got you ready to march now?
Well, I was ready when Reverend Sheila was there, but it didn't last. And when we got a man here that had the nerve, then I was ready to go with him, even unto death.
What do you think the difference was between Reverend Sheely and Reverend Rogers? Because they weren't separated by that many years, but their ability to be successful, to motivate people, to begin to really break it down, they're very different, right? Rogers had much more success. Why was that? What was the difference?
Well, Reverend Rogers was real, and we thought Reverend Sheely was real, but soon somebody threatened him. We were told that he left town. And that made it different. But Reverend Rogers, when he came there, he spoke and said what he'd do, what he came to do, and all that. So that's who we were looking for, somebody for a leader, and then he came here as a leader
Mm.
and stayed here until he died, till he got killed.
You said you knew Reverend Rogers when he was a young boy. He's from Sumter County. You're from Sumter County. Did you go to the same schools?
We went to same school.
Okay. Did you go to church with Reverend Rogers? Were you in the same church?
No, we wasn't in the same church.
Okay. How was T.Y. as a student in school?
Straight A.
Hmm. Could you tell even when he was a younger boy or younger man that he was going to be something special when he grew up?
Well, I think everybody knew that. When I was in the first grade in school, and his mother, Miss Rogers, she used to help her sister, Miss Cameron, teach school sometime, help her with the children. And she'd bring Reverend Rogers, well, he wasn't a Reverend Rogers then, it was T.Y. She'd bring him up there, a baby, and lay him on a quilt there in the school while she helped with the children. And so he went to Zion Hill after he left the school we were going to. And when I saw him again, it was at some kind of training school, and he was one grade behind me in school, and I didn't miss a grade. So he was so good, he got skipped some grades or something. So he wasn't nothing but a baby when I was in the first grade.
What other jobs did you have? You said when you first met your wife, you were driving for Richardson's. After that, what was your next job?
I worked for a construction company for a little while, but I came here looking for a job at Central Foundry. So the next job after that construction job, I went to Central Foundry. I worked there 28 years.
What did you do there?
Poured iron, pulled iron, and you might not know a thing about that, but anyway, and I shook out pipes, fittings, and all. I done. Tell the truth, I done most every job that they would let black folks do. When I went there, there was certain jobs we couldn't get.
So when Reverend Rogers was here in the 1960s, what was your job? What were you doing at that point?
Oh, I was pouring iron at that time.
Okay, so you were at Central Foundry while you were helping Reverend Rogers.
Huh?
So you were working at Central Foundry then, while you were helping Reverend Rogers.
Yeah, that's
that was
right.
Your job. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's right. We couldn't march much in the daytime because most of us were working, and the job. They had already said if you stayed off and went to a march or something, they saw you on there that you were fired.
Mm. There were some people that didn't support Reverend Rogers, right? People that were either against him or opposed him or thought he was moving too fast. Is that right?
Well, the main thing about it, the most of them who didn't support him, they were just scared. It wasn't nothing about him wrong, but they were scared. Because even my pastor told us not to fool with the movement, but I wasn't doing that. He was just talking to a stump.
What church did you go to back then, at that time?
Me?
Yeah.
Hurricane Baptist Church, right down the hill there.
Who was your pastor when he said, "Don't fool with the movement"?
Reverend Robertson.
Okay.
That's T.Y. right here. Jerry, this T.Y. right here.
Huh?
That's T.Y. right there, right?
What?
The youngest looking little boy on the picture.
Oh yeah, sure.
You can show it to me.
Yeah, you might not show them that. That's right.
Yeah, that's T.Y. right
T.Y. looks so young. It looks like it's precious. It must be like 10.
It ain't no lie about he was young, but he was smart. I'm talking about when he was little.
Down a little bit, down. Down. There. And down a little bit more. That's good. Hold it right there. Thank you.
When you said people who opposed TY, they were scared. What were they scared of?
Scared of the Ku Klux.
Hmm.
Or scared that what the pastor told all us at church, that don't you fool with that movement, that these white folk gonna run y'all out of town. And a lot of folk they took that advice. And but
What did the Ku Klux Klan? How did they scare people? What did they do back then
well,
that made people so nervous and so upset in town?
well now, they did in Hope right over there.
Mm-hmm.
They burnt crosses and stuff like that there in different areas over there, but they never did, not to my knowledge, do that right over in here.
When you saw those crosses being burned, what ran through your mind when you saw
Well,
that?
that's
You know,
what I'm saying now. That I wasn't over there, so I didn't see it. But I had some friends that lived over there. They did see it, but it didn't. You know, it wouldn't bother me.
What else were people afraid of that the Klan might do to them?
Well,
No.
tell the truth, they weren't scared in vain, 'cause they would do something to you now and then. And cause
We'll do something, they'll kill
a
them.
lot of folk come up missing and they didn't ever know what become on me. That's what they said. They probably got thrown in a river, thing like that. Yeah. Well, they were known to do that and all that. See, my grandmother, who lived to get 103 years old, she used to go to them hanging where they hang black folk right there in Livingston. And she used to tell me all about all that kind of stuff. I was familiar with, put that back in that bag. I'm familiar with what would happen. I couldn't ever figure out why I got out my car that night and started back to that car. I guess I was just so mad I was crazy.
Amen.
No, I was mad that the devil 'cause I kept running into my car. And but I got a different idea and I did what it said and I came out alive.
What did your grandmother tell you about, what she had seen?
She said in Livingston, when she was a girl, they used to have a hanging. They would hang. They were hanging above black folk. I know. She showed me exactly where the garrison was, and she said that they make sure that all the black folk got a chance to go and see it for the fear of it. And said they used to go and see them hang a men of mine there.
Do you remember the spot where she said that took place?
Huh?
Do you remember the spot where she said that took place?
Yeah, I know where it is right now.
Is it in Livingston downtown? In the middle of,
Right down below the courthouse, right down there, right below the courthouse. She said that's where the garrison was, and they used to hang them. And they'd do it on Saturday, while they let all of them go to town and see it.
Why do you think when Reverend Roger was here, when you were working with him, that you were successful? What was it about you and Reverend Roger and other people that made this work?
Because the Lord blessed us with enough folk that wasn't scared of dying to work with him, and we got quite a few things accomplished. Cause I know some, we didn't get everything accomplished, but we got some things accomplished. Cause we are Florida supermarket. I guess we made him a millionaire. Cause everybody in Tuscaloosa nearby would go to Florida and trade for groceries and stuff. Cause he said, well, I didn't hear him, but I'm saying what I heard them say. He said, yeah, the white merchant met with him because he was letting black cashiers and black butchers and meat cutters and things work in his store. And so they asked him why was he doing that, and they wasn't. And I know what they said he said. He said that, and I'm gonna say it just like they said he said it. He said, I'm in my store all day long, and I see everything going on. And I work, well, I know he did because I used to go in there all the time. He worked back there at the meat farm, but he watched them cash register like a hawk. And he said, now, y'all ain't nothing but a fool. Say, and I ain't saying that. I heard him say that. I said that's what they say. He said, now, I don't care about these niggas working in my cash register, and I'm watching them, and I don't care about them cutting my meat and what. Because when the night comes, when the money get out the cash register, it all go in my bag, and I carry it to the bank. And then a lot of white stores started letting black folk work out there. He helped us in that age. But
that was Mr. Shaw?
Huh?
That was Mr. Shaw, the growing Shaw's Groceries?
What kind of grow?
Floyd's Supermarket.
Oh,
Floyd's
Floyd's,
Supermarket.
okay. I thought you said Shaw. Okay, Floyd's Supermarket.
Floyd. And everybody in Tuscaloosa never I went to the store. I mean black. And he should have got filthy rich.
Yeah. What else changed in Tuscaloosa because of you and Reverend Rogers and others? So one thing is that these supermarkets began to hire blacks at higher levels, right?
Yeah.
So they're the cashier, they're the butcher, they're the meat cutters, right?
Yeah.
Those are higher jobs. What else did you help change in Tuscaloosa?
Well, we got the bus where you can ride on. I got black bus driver. That happened in Tuscaloosa. And the atmosphere got better.
What do you mean by that? Atmosphere got better?
I mean that you wouldn't harassed as much, not even as much you are now, as black folks are. You wouldn't have harassed as much as you were black folk then. And we got a lot of things accomplished, but there was some things that never did change and ain't changed to today. And may not never change.
What do you wish had changed but didn't? But it didn't happen. Things that you wish you had changed but didn't change.
Well, what I wish would change then and change now, that everybody was treated equally. You know, there wouldn't be no segregation against black or white or anybody. That everybody try to make it in this country, make it and do the best they can, and the salaries wouldn't be so much different and all that. Now I wish that would happen in my lifetime, even though it may not. But that's what I wish to have. And I ain't never figured out why that we were so hated by the other race. And I don't know nothing myself. And I know we didn't get all the history that we should have got, but I ain't know nothing that black folk done against other folk. But work for them and work for nothing and work for nothing. I tell you what the white man told my dad, he said, you got to get your roll longer and work a little harder, you'll come out. And my daddy said that, I can't think of the white lady's name, but she had 180 acres of land up there. And she told him, said, Jeff, said, I'm tired of seeing you scuffling. Said, now, I'll sell you this place. And said, full of nut grass, though, I'll tell you that now. So farming folk wasn't interested nothing but some land where they can make cotton. And she told him, I'll let you have this land. So he told her, well, I ain't got nothing to pay you with. So she said, well, you just go and work in your field, and at the end of the year, if you got anything, get to me, and if you ain't, go back and work another year. Paul said, work 3 years and didn't make a dime to pay her with. And the 4th year, he got a good bump of crop, and he paid off. I forgot what he told me to call, but it wasn't that high. That's 180 acres of land he bought it, and we own it right now.
In Sumter County?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. To go back to your voter education efforts, right? You mentioned Stokely Carmichael. One thing you did say is that it was very difficult because the city kept changing questions on you, right? Every month there was a different question they would ask. But then Alabama students would give you the questions, is that right?
That's what, the student from University of Alabama, white student, would get us the question one ahead of time and give them to a that's the reason I can't understand how come we can't get along, because it had always been some good white folks to help us when other folks wouldn't help us. Because the students at the university used to get them application every month ahead of time, and we changed, went elected change, and that went out good. We got a many folk registered vote, and that's how come I in that archive in Selma right now, cause we've got a lot of folk registered vote, and a lot of old folk. Now, back then, you couldn't hardly get none of these young folk to go up there then, but now the young folk going, now the old folk won't go.
Do you remember any names of those Alabama students that helped give you those applications or those questions? Anybody? Students, yeah.
Now, I didn't know none of them, because I didn't that was above my rank. That was doing, they were doing that. Reverend Ross now knew about that, but we didn't know who was doing it. But we knew we were getting the application, the questionnaire.
And was it pretty successful? You were able to get those questions and then help people get their vote?
Yeah. Because see, a lot of older folk wanted to vote, and they didn't. You couldn't vote. You couldn't pass the test. We had to take civics classes to be able to teach them.
What was so hard about those tests? What was so difficult about them?
About what?
Those tests you say were so difficult, right?
Yeah. Well, see, they asked all them questions. Some of them were silly questions, but you had to answer all of them. But if you didn't, that's the only way they kept you from registering to vote. Cause there wasn't nobody hardly just ordinary person who didn't have no education. They couldn't fill out them applications. They just couldn't fill them out, so you got turned down.
Do you remember any of the questions, what they were, where they kept asking people that was...
Huh?
Do you remember any of the questions they would ask people?
Yeah, they asked you who was the governor, all the different functions of government, and then a lot of more silly questions, some of them.
When you look back at your efforts during that time, what was your proudest moment?
To get people registered to vote. That was the proudest thing I can remember that I did personally. And one more proud thing was march from Selma to Montgomery. That was another thing, because we marched to Montgomery, and that Saturday morning we left our cars at the children's hospital and walked from there over to the state capitol, and we had guards on us, and let's see, I'll try to think of who was pro of that. Lyndon Johnson, I believe. But anyway, we had we marched all the way over there. And so soon as Reverend King got through speaking, they took the guards off, and we was in trouble then to come back to our car because we didn't have nobody to guard us or nothing of the kind. And that was the night when the march was over with, and we was on 82 coming back here to Tuscaloosa, and that bunch was on 80. That's when Miss Luso got killed. And I remember that because we hadn't even got home when the wood got out. When I was in the march, that said going up to the Capitol, and I saw a white guy was marching about 2 guys ahead of me, and I saw a white guy standing on the sideline hog and spit on him, and so we had to grab him and drag him on, and if it hadn't been, it would have erupted more. I remember that well.
What do you remember about Bloody Tuesday here in Tuscaloosa?
Bloody Tuesday, at First African, that Monday night, Reverend Rogers had to say that he wanted everybody who could come to come to First African, and we were gonna march from First African to the courthouse, and he made it clear. Said, now we're gonna march from First African to the courthouse, and said if I get shot down, just step over me and keep on to the courthouse and go in the bathroom and use the bathroom and drink some water out the water fountain and come on back to the church. He said, now, if anything happens to me, don't stop fooling with me. Go on, keep on walking and keep on to the thing. I remember that. But wasn't nothing hardly in the church that morning because I was like, what? I wasn't in Bloody Tuesday that morning, but we were there that evening when the church looked like a bomb had been through. All the windows was knocked out and everything. And a lot of our children, not one of my children, but they're children from over town, but a lot of children I knew and their parents I knew, and some of them go to our church. Some of them still go to our church. Well,
what did the church look like that when you went to visit it that evening, right after on Bloody Tuesday? When you actually went and saw what it looked like, what did it look like?
Oh, I told you it looked like a war zone. All the windows was knocked out. Most all the windows was knocked out of it, and just everything.
What happened the next day after Bloody Tuesday? So on Wednesday or Thursday, what did y'all do?
Got everybody out of jail.
How'd you do that?
Well, Reverend Lennon was working with Reverend Rogers in that area, but we got enough money from somebody in St. Louis to get everybody out. But then after they found out we had the cash to get everybody out, then they changed that you had to have property. They wouldn't accept cash bond. They had to have property. But anyway, we got all the children out by that Wednesday, by that Thursday. And most of the children.
Were the children or anyone hurt while they were in jail?
Huh?
Anybody get hurt while they were in jail?
Not that I know of.
Okay, so First African, you can't use it for a while because it looks like a war zone. Where did you meet after that then?
We met at, we met one time at Reverend Linton's church. He got a small church, so we couldn't get half of the folk in that. But we met at, I'm trying to think of the church downtown.
The Baileys, or was it?
Bailey Tabernacle.
Or was
You
it?
got it, that's right. That's where we met at.
You've said a few times that there are still things today that you wish were different, right? That people still aren't living the way you want them to be living. What do you mean by that? That today there are still problems that you saw back during the movement.
Well, the truth of the matter is, it looked like that we were doing pretty good until we got this president. Since we got him, the nation looked like it done turned all the way around back where it was. So that's what I hate so bad. I hate to have to go over ground again, because I won't be going over it, I'm pretty sure, because I'm 88 years old, so it's just a matter of time with me. But I just hate for my children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren to have to go back through what we've been. And then if this president get, and I know he's going, I never know he's going to do it. If he get this somebody on the Supreme Court that he want on there, then the Supreme Court will be stacked. And it might be 100 years before we get back to that again. I don't know. I've been talking to the Lord about it. I said, if he don't help us, I don't know what we'll do. So we're asking everybody to vote. I ain't telling them how to vote, but vote your conviction and let this be whatever you vote, whatever way you vote, then whichever way it come out. If it come out the way you want it, you'll be happy. If it come out the way other folk want it, they'll be happy. So let's vote.
What do you want your grandchildren to know about you right now?
Huh?
What do you want your grandchildren to remember you by?
Remember me by?
Your grandchildren.
Most of my grandchildren, I sit down sometimes when they're here and tell them everything I know about life. And most of them know everything that I just told y'all. And ain't many of them don't even know it. Well, let me tell you a crazy thing. It was a ditch run down by the number 6 family. I know you don't know what I'm talking about, but anyway, what we used to wet. And we started run out there and make water, because you had to go way to the bathroom and have time. And so we started making water out there. And then the white guy started going out there while we were making water too. And Selma found and put up a sign on this side, white, on that side the sign was black, color. And that was shocking to me. I didn't think segregation go that far. None of us was supposed to be out there. But we started running out there when you're in a hurry. And the white guys started doing it too, and they put a sign up in there. White and black, white and color.
Daddy,
Yeah.
tell them what made you decide to send your children and make us help integrate the schools.
Oh, yeah, that's another part of it. I work with the Board of Education to get children started to go to school. With the first bunch of blacks in Tuscaloosa, they started letting the little children go to I had one child in the elementary, and that's my daughter right there. And so we sent them to school, and so the superintendent said that our children couldn't ride the bus because we were too close to the school. It had to be 2 miles from the school to ride the bus. So we followed the bus all the way to the school. And they were picking up white children a block or 2 from the school and riding them. So we went back and told them, so now we know that ain't the truth, because we done trailed the bus all the way to the school. They picking up white children a block or 2 from the school. and riding them on to the school. And he said, well, the bridge, and that's the bridge right over there. So the bridge is 2 miles from the school. We said, well, if that be the case, we carry all our children down to the bridge and let them catch the bus. So when we told him that, then he said, he changed and said, the superintendent changed and let all the children ride the bus. My daughter said she riding the bus and she said in that. And then when it got to the upper school, my oldest son and my oldest daughter, my next oldest daughter, all of them went to Holt High School and never been there before. And they had a rough time, and I was I was the second black that I know that was ever on the PTA board, and I was the treasurer of the PTA for several years. And so we had a white lady with the president, and she was tough as they come. And a night we had a night that the school got filled up with segregation of white folk, and she got up in that night. I mean, elder white lady, she was president of the PTA, and she told them, all of y'all who ain't a member of the PTA, get out of here. And so we had a time with that, but we finally got it to go. But that my daughter right there, she was one of the first to ever go to Holt Elementary School. And my other 2 son and daughter were the first to go to Holt High School. We had others too, but I'm just talking about mine was some of the first that ever went. Now, y'all, if I know anything else, I can't tell it.
I'd like to know a little bit more about was it your grandmother or your great-grandmother who was 103, lived to be 103?
That was my dad's mother, my grandmother.
Okay. What can you tell us about her? Was she born down there?
Yeah, she was born right there in Sumter County.
Now, were her parents, her parents born into slavery?
Yeah, her dad was born a slave, and her mama too.
Down in that area?
Yeah, because she said she was born 2 years after I believe she said 2 years after surrender. But she just didn't miss slavery. And my granddaddy, my daddy's daddy, he said he and his brother, they were gonna put them on the block to sell, and they ran off. And the man didn't get a chance to sell it, but he caught his brother and sold him. And he used to tell us all the time, say Hood that his brother was sold to some white guy in Greene County, and he tried all them years to try to find out who it was. But see, the name changed. He wasn't no Martin no more once he got down there.
What did you say he was before?
Huh?
What was his name before he got down there?
He was named Bull Martin.
Morris.
Martin.
Martin. Okay.
Martin.
Okay. Martin. Okay.
That's the same thing my brother's name right next to me now. Well, now my granddad used to tell us all the time that he got away and his brother got caught. They sold him, and he said he heard that they sold him to some white guy in Greene County. But you know, when they sell him to him, then their name changed to that main name, whoever they sold him to. So he couldn't ever find out who he was or nothing. They never did know.
One of the things that's always shocked me about my students is I ask them about what it was like slavery, and they say, oh, well, white folks were nice to them because they cost a lot of money and they wanted them to be healthy, and of course that wasn't it at all. You know, can you remember any stories that were passed down through the family about slavery?
Nothing but some stories they told her about right after slavery. Well, my granddad, he just knowed about the selling of, and they sold them right there where that clock I had downtown in Tuscaloosa. They sold them right there. But now he didn't. That wasn't what he told me. But somebody else told me that. because he was in Lewiston. They sold him at the courthouse in Lewiston.
And all your thoughts and all your prayers, what do you think we could do to get together?
If I had any clue of what would make it work, I'd do it today. If it meant to kill me. If it was going to take my life for somebody else, I'd be willing to do it. But I don't know nothing, because I ain't never saw nothing turn around this quick. We look like we were doing pretty good until the last 4 years. And then all hell started breaking loose, and folk got back, a lot of folk got back just like they were a Warsaw. And so I really don't know. I talk with the Lord all the time, because I'm a believer in the Lord Jesus. And I talk with him all the time. I said, now, we want you to intervene into this thing and let your will be done. Because I know your will is right.